just 2 years after Jaguar introduced the F-Pace, in 2017 they introduced another SUV, this E-Pace. It's a compact SUV that meant to take on rivals like the BMW X2, the Audi Q3 and the Volvo XC40. Now for the 2021 model, Jaguar has given the E-Pace a facelift. They changed some things on the outside, on the inside, but the biggest news here is that this version I've got here is a plug-in hybrid with more than 300 horsepower. Yes, you heard that right. Jaguar has electrified the E-Pace. And not just the E-Pace, also its bigger brother, the F-Pace. And if you want to see my review on that car, just look for the link in the description box below. Now the renewed E-Pace is also available with mild hybrid technology, but in this video I'm going to discuss this version, which is the plug-in hybrid version. Now let's have a look under the hood. Under the hood you get a 1.5 3-cylinder that produces 200 horsepower and it's mated to an 8-speed automatic. But that's not all. There's also an electric motor, which is not in the front, but in the back. So with this plug-in hybrid, you get standard all-wheel drive. And the electric motor produces 109 horsepower, giving it this car a total output of 309 horsepower, which is actually pretty good for a compact SUV. And this car will do 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 6.5 seconds. This being a plug-in hybrid means that it has a battery pack. The battery pack is 15 kilowatt hours and is located here in the cargo area under the load floor. And this car will do about 55 kilometers of pure electric driving, which makes it perfect for short commutes, and then you can save the gas engine for longer trips. And when I picked up the car at the Jaguar dealer with a full battery, I immediately went onto the highway and got around 45 kilometers, which is not that bad if you're considering I was only doing highway speeds. Naturally, a facelift also means some minor design changes. For instance, on this renewed E-Pace, the headlights are a bit different on the inside. You now get 2 double LED strips here for the daylight running lights. This J-shape is also known as the Jaguar J-Blade, and in this case you get a double J-Blade. And the headlights are now also available with pixel LED technology. Then we go a bit to the center. On the grille, the mesh is a bit different. You now get this diamond pattern, and of course you still get the Jaguar logo in the front with a camera just above it. And the air inlets on the sides, they have also been tweaked a little bit. They have grown and now you got a bit of a trim around it. At the back you also get some minor design changes. As you can see, this plug-in hybrid version doesn't have any exhaust tips anymore. At the back they are neatly tucked away behind the bumper. The rear lights have also been slightly redesigned and now resemble those of the fully electric Jaguar I-Pace. The car I have here also has the black exterior pack, which is now also available on the E-Pace. You get a lot of black design elements and black trim. I must say it looks pretty good, especially on this car with this white color. It's a good contrast, especially with these black wheels. These are 20-inch wheels, which are an option. Standard you get 18 or 19-inch wheels. Now if you're gonna get the black exterior pack, this is what you're gonna get. The trim around the air inlets, these fake inlets, will be entirely black, and the same is for the grille. You can see the entire grille is blacked out. You get black trim here, and also the mesh itself with the diamond pattern will be black. Now on the sides there are some air outlets. These are completely fake as well. They look kind of cool, I have to admit. Jaguar calls these power vents. That's a bit much, but these are also blacked out, as you can see. The same for the trim around the window and here on the side mirrors, also completely black. And if we go to the back, here you get the badge for the P300e all-wheel drive, completely blacked out. The same for the E-Pace badge. And to top it off, you get the black Jaguar and you get the black Leaper, the iconic Leaper. And especially this one looks pretty good with this white background. Now the biggest news in this renewed E-Pace is this infotainment system, this PV Pro infotainment system that we already know from other recently updated Jaguar models. You control it using this 11.4 inch screen, which is slightly curved. And PV Pro is a pretty good system. It looks pretty nice and I always get a bit of an Apple vibe from this system. And it's also pretty fast, a lot faster than the system in the outgoing model, which wasn't that hard because that one was a bit slow. And the system is also always connected to the internet because it's got a SIM card with a 4G reception. So you can get over-the-air updates with this car, so you don't have to go any longer to the Jaguar dealer for that. Now the menus are very clear and it's quite user-friendly. What I do find a bit annoying about this system is the reversing camera. Now you get a camera that is of course directed to the rear, and you also got a 360-degree camera so that you can see the car from above. Now that's all fine, but you do get these big white borders around the image that are way too big. They take up way too much space and they are totally unnecessary. There are also a lot of buttons all around the image that you just don't need when you're backing up. I don't want to turn on some music when I'm backing up. I don't want to know the time, and I especially don't want to know my 4G reception when I'm backing up. I just don't care. So I would like to ask Jaguar politely, because this car can receive over-the-air updates, please fix this. It's an easy fix, just stretch out the image and that'll be fine. Because this is just a bit of a shame. Now below the screen you get a panel with touch sensitive buttons. These are completely new, this panel, because in the previous model you got a whole row of physical buttons here and 3 large round knobs. This works just as good, but it looks way better. Now these 2 new round buttons, they have multiple functions. If you press them, you can turn on the heated seats. Now if you leave them in the middle position, you can adjust the heat, and if you want to pull them back, you can adjust the fan speed. Now the gear selector for the automatic transmission is also new. There used to be a large lever here. Now you get this smaller one. It looks pretty stylish. You get some leather on top. Apparently it's made to look like a cricket ball with some stitching on the top. And because the gear selector is now a lot smaller, you can get a lot more space all around it. For instance, there's now an inductive charger for your phone, so you can now charge your phone wirelessly. Now behind the steering wheel you can get a digital gauge cluster. In the previous car you got 2 analog clocks, but now you get this 12-inch screen. Of course it will show your speed, but you can also see the navigation map on it. And on the right side you can see the power output of the electric motor and also of the gas engine. And you can also see how much it is charging when you're slowing down and when you let go of the accelerator pedal. Because this car can do a bit of regenerative braking because it is a plug-in hybrid. Now because it is a plug-in hybrid, you won't slow down that much when you let go of the accelerator, but you can win some energy back. Now on the left side you can see the fuel gauge, which is pretty standard. You can see how much gas you have left. But on the right side you can see the battery gauge that will show you how much battery power you have left. Now the steering wheel is also completely new, and it kind of looks completely the same as the steering wheel you get in the Jaguar E-Pace, the fully electric Jaguar. On the steering wheel again these black touch sensitive buttons. If you touch them they will light up if you use them. Now on the left part of the steering wheel you can operate the audio part, so you can change the radio station or go to the next song, and of course there's also a knob for the volume. And on the right side you get buttons for some drive assistance systems such as lane assist or adaptive cruise control. You can also switch them on all together in one go, so that you can drive semi-autonomously on the motorway. Now the interior of this E-Pace is inspired by the interior of the F-Type, which is the sports car from Jaguar. Now this car isn't really a sports car, but you do get that sporty feeling, especially because of this interior. For example, take this grip. It's a bit much in a family SUV. You're probably not going to use it in a wheelbase because you're not going to drive that fast. And I doubt a lot of people will take this SUV off-roading. But it looks kind of good, especially if you see it as a design element. It looks pretty neat. And don't forget that this car, this plug-in hybrid, has more than 300 horsepower and also a lot of drive modes. So you can actually do a bit of sporty driving, even in the corners. So let's take this car for a drive. Yes, when you're driving a Jaguar, you do expect a bit of a sporty driving experience. Now, of course, Jaguar doesn't make the cars anymore like they did 20, 30 years ago. We're driving in a compact SUV right now that didn't even exist back then. But even in this compact SUV, you still get a sporty driving experience, which makes this car a lot of fun to drive. The chassis is quite firm, it's quite hard, which makes this car more fun to drive than most compact SUVs. And it means that you can go in through corners a bit faster than you would have expected. Now the chassis isn't that firm that it's uncomfortable. It's still quite comfortable. This is after all a family SUV, so it's also very good for longer trips or just doing your daily commute or doing the groceries. Now the car does weigh a lot. It almost weighs 2200 kilos, which is a lot, especially for a compact SUV. But again, because the chassis is quite firm, you don't really notice it when you go into corners. And that sporty feeling you also get because of this interior. As I said, this interior is based on the interior in the F-Type. You can really tell. And also the seating position is quite low, which again really makes it feel like you're in a sports car. Now, of course you really aren't, but all in all it does kind of feel like you're in a really sporty SUV. And because this car has more than 300 horsepower, it's actually quite fast. But when the battery runs out, you just have to make use of the gas engine that produces 200 horsepower, which is still sufficient to go quite fast in this car. But if you really want to make good use of this car, you really have to charge the car every day to top off the battery. Then you get 40-50 kilometers of range, which is good for your daily commute. And then you also get a better driving experience because then you get the full power. And also, if you don't use that power, if you're only using the electric engine, you get a better driving experience, because in the city you don't really need the gas engine. And the electric engine produces enough horsepower, it's got instant torque, so it's fast enough in the city, and it's also completely silent, and of course it just saves a lot of fuel. Now before we end, let's start pricing. This car in the Netherlands will start from 61,500 euros. That's it for this video. If you liked it, don't forget to hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this in the future. And of course, I hope you do. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next video.